Good morning. This is Haley Solomon with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins-Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week so far. I'm going to kick it off with organizational updates. If you haven't already, you need to register for our North Carolina Housing Works Conference happening October 23rd through the 24th at the Raleigh Convention Center. We are basically full. We are having record number of registrations, and so we have decided to move our registration deadline up to the 13th, which is this Friday. So if you are planning on going, if you're on the fence, go ahead and make that decision. We would love to have you. We're also calling for proposals for the 2024 Bringing It Home Conference in May of next year. Workshop submissions are due by December 15th of 2023, and the link to the submission forms for proposals can be found on our website, and we'll link that in the call notes. Also, this is the second to last time I'll be reminding folks to provide feedback on our county profiles and our different advocacy and policy resources. The survey closes on October 20th, so you have 10 more days. Again, we just want to, collect additional feedback on not only the county profiles and how we might be able to improve it for 2024, but how you use our other tools and what might be helpful for you in terms of data and resources and things like that. Moving on to federal updates. Ooh, it's been a doozy of a week, y'all. Last Tuesday, members of the U.S. House voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker in a vote of 216 to 210. The vote came after Florida Representative Matt Gaetz forced action on a resolution to remove him in response to McCarthy negotiating with Democrats in order to pass a short-term resolution that averted the government shutdown. This is the first time in our history that a speaker has been removed by a House vote on the floor, and currently the interim speaker pro tem is Representative Patrick McHenry from North Carolina's 10th District, who will serve in this role until a new Speaker of the House is elected. His role does have limited authority, so the House can't conduct any legislative work without an elected speaker, including funding the government to avoid a shutdown before the new deadline of November 17th. Now, there have been some conversations about possibly granting him additional authority considering recent events, and they're still discussing that and trying to determine how to move forward. While the House can't vote on legislation or amendments on the House floor without a speaker, an elected speaker, committee work can continue. The House Committee on Rules will be meeting soon to discuss the amendments to the THUD bill, spending bill. So that's the Transportation and Housing and Urban Development Spending Bill. There have been several harmful amendments that have been proposed, including further cuts to federal investments in affordable housing. So advocates, please contact your representatives and urge them to expand, not cut, investments in affordable homes in the fiscal year 24 spending bill, and to oppose any amendments that would make it more difficult for people to access affordable homes. Once the House elects a new speaker, lawmakers can then hold a vote on the spending bill and the amendments. And just for extra emphasis and a reminder, no, this call for advocates to ask your representatives to expand investments is not only because we need additional funding, but because in order to serve the folks that are already being served, so in other words, to maintain service, that funding has to increase because the cost of providing those services and the cost of housing continues to increase. So please reach out to your representatives and urge them to expand, not cut. Moving on to some statewide legislative updates, we are still waiting on a technical corrections bill for the budget that could come out this week or next week. Time will tell. Utility rates increased for Duke Energy Progress customers last week on October 1st. The multi-year rate plan increases rates by 17.2% over the next 3 years, with rates increasing 10.1% in the first year, followed by an additional 3.1% and 3.2% increase in years 2 and 3. These changes were approved by the State's Utility Commission in August after a really contentious hearing where a coalition of consumer and clean energy advocates that we are also a part of opposed the rate hikes. And although unsuccessful in preventing these rate increases, the advocates, we were successful in securing a $16 million contribution from shareholders over the next 3 years that hope to be aimed at supporting low-income households in need of critical home repairs, energy efficiency and weatherization upgrades, and utilities assistance. The North Carolina Local Government Commission approved nearly $2 billion in funding to support municipalities at their recent meeting. The largest approved request was for $750 million in revenue bonds for the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency with the objective of increasing affordable housing throughout the state. Some local community updates, a lot happening in Dare County. The League of Women Voters in Dare County hosted a candidate forum last week where candidates for the Manio Board of Commissioners answered questions from residents. Not unlike many places across the state, affordable housing issues were a recurring theme in the evening, with the audience really posing questions about, what they're going to do, what their policy ideas are, but also about a recently proposed Belchertown project that was forwarded, as well as discussion about the state budget provision that, if you recall, a few weeks ago we singled out because it restricts towns from regulating affordable housing developments funded by the state. And on that note, Dare County, as well as all 6 municipalities within the county, have signed onto a lawsuit filed against the state of North Carolina challenging the budget provision that I just mentioned. The provision, what it does is it limits the town's ability to apply certain zoning requirements to affordable housing projects that are funded by $35 million in state money awarded to the county in the previous budget. Various town officials have vocally criticized the measure for encroaching on local authority over development and zoning. So more to come as that unfolds. In Gastonia, residents of Apple Tree Apartments received a 60-day notice to vacate their apartments after learning that the naturally affordable complex had been sold. Monthly rents at Apple Tree had not been increased in the last few years and were about $550 per month. Now residents worry that they will have nowhere to go in a city where the average rent is $1,300 per month. Wilmington City Council voted last week to provide additional financing to Starway Village, a proposed affordable housing development that needed gap funding to begin. This has been very common for a lot of developments in the last several years. The resolution approved $750,000 in loans for Starway Village, which is expected to bring 278 units of affordable housing for Wilmington for people who earn between 30 and 60% of the area median income in New Hanover County. Wake County Board of Commissioners and the City of Raleigh have both approved funding to support construction of a new affordable housing development off of Crosslink Road in Raleigh. These apartments will serve families at various income levels, ranging from 30% to 70% of the area median income, and they expect construction to start in 2024. Moving on to reports and resources, I want to lift up one that really struck me and hits close to home from the New York Times that looks at the Americans that are most threatened by eviction, which is our young children. The Americans most at risk of eviction, according to the article, are babies and toddlers. And the new data that they quoted in this study provides a fuller demographic picture of who lives in rental households and who's facing eviction pressures nationwide. Apparently, children under 5 make up the largest group by age of those whose households have had an eviction filed against them, and they're weathering instability during crucial years for their development. Young children make up the largest group facing eviction, and although they make up 9% of those living in rentals, they make up 12% of those affected by an eviction filing each year. Now, typically when you go through eviction filings, because these are children, you may not see their names, but the study that they looked through in this piece kind of crosses over data with the American Community Survey and other sources to fill in those demographic gaps. And just one more kind of data point that really stood out to me, between 2007 and 2016, the years that are covered by the data in this report, it's estimated that 2.9 million children were affected by an eviction filing each year. So even though every filing does not lead to an eviction judgment, a lot of the cases leave lasting remarks on credit reports that can influence a family's ability to find stable housing for several years. And many families end up leaving their homes while they're waiting for a court order. So I just want to list up that really powerful piece. Another piece that we want to lift up is a look at Durham's progress on key metrics 4 years after voters passed a $95 million affordable housing bond. This is a really cool piece in looking at the goals that Durham set for how they wanted to use the bond money and where they are in terms of multifamily construction as well as preservation. Moving on to events. And if you can hear any snoring in the background, I apologize. My 7-year-old pug apparently finds this lesson not very entertaining, so that's the background noise. Moving to events, Calculating Change. Tomorrow, a virtual event titled Calculating Change, the continuing conversation on homelessness, looks at data reform for the conversation on homelessness. This will be hosted by the National Alliance to End Homelessness. It will be at 1 p.m. Again, it's virtual, and it's tomorrow. Greensboro Housing Coalition is hosting their annual summit on October 26th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Greensboro. We're going to link the summit details and the registration link. So if you're already coming to our conference and you just want to make that week, you want to dedicate that week to housing and housing in North Carolina related topics, then sign up for this, what's sure to be a great event. Another event we want to lift up is a 2-part series that is really relevant now because of a lot of the municipal elections happening across our state. Our Homes, Our Votes, Housing is Built with Ballots. It's a virtual webinar. It's a 2-part webinar hosted by the National Low Income Housing Coalition on October 12th and October 26th at 2:30 p.m. So both of those dates at 2:30 p.m. We'll have the link to register in the call notes for you. And then the North Carolina Center for Nonprofits is hosting their annual conference on November 2nd through the 3rd at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem. So if folks are interested in that, it's an opportunity to connect with different nonprofit colleagues and learn from different experts and practitioners as well as share insights. That's all the updates we have for you today. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.